And that's why Rocket Coin is literally my top pick for the next 1000x. This is your chance to get in before we go to the moon. Don't get left behind. This coin, hyped up by one of the biggest names online, is now worthless. Thousands of his most loyal fans lost everything. But the influencer, he walked away with millions. This wasn't just a bad investment, it was a setup. This wasn't a market fluctuation, it was a calculated betrayal. In this video, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden psychological playbook these gurus use to gain your trust, and then lead you straight into financial ruin. This is the story of how your favorite crypto influencers get rich while their followers lose it all. Let's be honest, the world of cryptocurrency feels like a new gold rush. It's a digital frontier where fortunes are seemingly made overnight and the stories are intoxicating. A few $100 turned into $1 million, early believers rewarded with life-changing wealth. It's a total disruption of the old financial order. For most of us, this world is both thrilling and incredibly confusing. What even is a blockchain? What's a smart contract? How are you supposed to tell the difference between the next Bitcoin and a worthless token that's going to zero? Into all this confusion steps a new kind of guide, the crypto influencer. They pop up on your YouTube feed, your TikTok, your Twitter timeline. They're charismatic, they're confident, and they speak with a certainty that's hard to ignore. They promise to break down all the complexity and give you a map to this new frontier. Most importantly, they promise you a piece of the treasure. They tell you about projects that are guaranteed to succeed. They flash their expensive cars and luxury apartments, not just to boast, but as proof that they have the secret. And if you just follow them, you can have it too. They're not just financial advisors, they're leaders of a movement. They build communities or families, all united by a shared belief in a project and the promise of getting rich together. But what if that entire persona, the expertise, the community, the promise of wealth, is just a carefully constructed illusion? What if the map they're giving you doesn't lead to treasure but straight off a cliff? The truth is, a growing number of these influencers aren't pioneers. They're predators. They are masters of psychological manipulation, running sophisticated schemes designed for one purpose: to transfer money from their followers directly into their own pockets. They operate in the gray areas of the internet, exploiting a powerful mix of hype, trust, and our deep-seated fear of being left behind. And these tactics are devastatingly effective. In 2025 alone, billions of dollars have been lost to crypto scams, and a huge chunk of that was fueled by influencer promotions. Those aren't just numbers on a screen. That's rent money. That's a college fund. That's a lifetime of savings gone in an instant. To understand how this happens, we can't just talk about hypotheticals. We need to look at the anatomy of a real betrayal to see the playbook in action. Let's pull back the curtain on one such case. We'll call the influencer Leo Vance and his project AstroNomad. The names are made up for this story, but the methods are very real, compiled from dozens of documented scams that have played out time and time again. Our story starts not with a coin, but with a community. For 2 years, Leo Vance built an image as one of the most authentic voices in crypto. He wasn't like the other guys, he said. He wasn't about hype or Lambo culture. His channel, Crypto Voyager, was all about the technology, the philosophy of decentralization and financial freedom. His videos were calm and reassuring. He'd sit in a nicely lit studio, a bookshelf full of books on economics and philosophy behind him, and speak directly to his audience. He called them his fellow Voyagers. He made them feel like they were part of something special. They weren't just speculators. They were part of a movement to build a better, fairer financial system. He built what's known as a parasocial relationship, a one-sided connection where his followers felt like they knew him. They thought he was their friend, a mentor who had their best interests at heart. He was trustworthy. This trust was his greatest asset, worth more than any cryptocurrency, and he was about to cash it in. After months of hinting at something big, the whisper phase began. In his private Discord server, which you had to pay to join, Leo started talking about a new project. He said it was revolutionary, a token that would solve the big problems of volatility and high transaction fees. He called it AstroNomad. He claimed it had a unique safe orbit feature that would stop large holders, or whales, from crashing the price. He made it feel exclusive, like a secret just for his most loyal followers. This wasn't a public launch. It was an early chance for the family. Then came the shout. Leo's content changed overnight. The calm philosophical chats were replaced with urgent, high-energy videos. AstroNomad is the future, one title screamed. Why I'm going all in on AstroNomad, 100x potential, declared another. He unleashed a flood of psychological triggers designed to create intense FOMO, or the fear of missing out. He used phrases like, "This is a once in a generation opportunity," and "The train is leaving the station, don't get left behind." He showed charts with wild upward projections. He hosted Ask Me Anything sessions where he and a team of supposedly brilliant but totally anonymous developers answered pre screened questions, promising that huge partnerships were right around the corner. The hype was perfectly engineered. Other smaller influencers suddenly started posting about AstroNomad, all using the same talking points. These were undisclosed sponsorships. Leo and his team were paying them to promote the token, but to everyone on the outside, it just looked like an organic wave of excitement. This is the exact kind of behavior that led to celebrities like Kim Kardashian being fined millions by the SEC. She was paid $250,000 to promote a crypto asset but didn't properly disclose it, which is illegal. In Leo's world, there was no SEC. There was only the court of social media, and he was in charge. The strategy worked perfectly. The pump was on. Driven by the nonstop hype and the fear of missing their one shot at getting rich, the Voyagers and thousands of new investors piled in. They bought AstroNomad, and the price chart, just like Leo promised, went straight up. The Discord server was electric. People were posting screenshots of their balances, showing gains of 200%, 500%, 1000%. They thanked Leo for his guidance, for letting them in on the secret. They were finally on the inside. They were going to make it. This is the peak of the illusion. It's the moment the victims are most invested, both financially and emotionally. They aren't just holding a token, they're holding onto a belief in the project, in the community, and most of all in Leo. And that's when the betrayal happened. While the community was celebrating, the creators were getting ready for the dump. In crypto, every transaction is public on the blockchain, and investigators who later looked at the AstroNomad blockchain found a devastating pattern. In the days before the launch, a few wallets controlled by Leo and his anonymous devs had scooped up massive amounts of AstroNomad tokens for practically nothing. These were the insider wallets, and that special safe orbit feature that was supposed to prevent whales from selling, the code was quietly changed right before launch, making it useless. This is a classic move seen in real-world scams like the SaveTheKids token, where a so-called anti-whale feature was disabled right before the influencers cashed out. At the peak of the buying frenzy, as his followers poured their money in, Leo and his team started to sell. Not all at once, but in a coordinated cascade. They sold their trillions of tokens to the very people who trusted them. The Voyagers weren't their partners, they were their exit liquidity. The effect was instant and catastrophic. The price, which had been artificially pumped, collapsed. In about 5 minutes, AstroNomad fell 95%, 98%, 99.9%. The Discord server went from euphoria to panic, then to horror. "What's happening?" people typed. "Why is it crashing? Leo, say something." But Leo was silent. The life savings people had invested were now worth pennies. One user who put in $20,000 saw their balance fall to less than $50. Another who invested their family's $5,000 emergency fund was left with just enough to buy a coffee. The stories were heartbreaking. People had taken out loans, they had bet their kids' college funds, they had believed. A few days later, Leo Vance posted a short video. He looked tired and defeated. He claimed he was just as shocked as everyone else. He said he was betrayed by the anonymous developers and that he'd lost money too. It was a complete lie. On-chain data would later show his wallets cashed out over $4 million. He played the victim, one last act of manipulation to muddy the waters and dodge accountability. Then he deleted his social media channels and vanished, leaving behind a trail of financial devastation and broken trust. This story, in all its brutal detail, is the core of the crypto influencer scam. It's a playbook built on psychological manipulation, and to protect yourself, you need to understand exactly how it works. What happened with AstroNomad wasn't just a financial crime, it was psychological warfare. These influencers don't just find victims, they create them. They do it by exploiting predictable human biases. Let's break down their three-step process: weaponizing trust, manufacturing hype, and executing the scam. Step 1, weaponizing trust. The whole scam is built on trust, but it's a specific, manufactured kind of trust. Influencers build what psychologists call parasocial relationships. This is that one-sided feeling of friendship and intimacy you might feel for a celebrity or online personality. You feel like you know them, but they have no idea you exist. They do this in a few ways. First, Performing authenticity. They share personal stories, talk about their struggles, and broadcast their daily lives. They might show you their apartment, their workout, or their family. This creates a sense of intimacy. It feels like you're watching a friend, not a financial promoter. Leo Vance's philosopher persona was a performance designed to signal that he was trustworthy. Second, building a community. They create an in-group, a tribe or family, with its own slang and inside jokes. Phrases like Diamond Hands, the Hodl Gang, or Leo's Voyagers create a powerful sense of belonging. Investing becomes a badge of membership. If you doubt the project, you risk being kicked out of the group. This twists the basic human need for connection into a tool for financial pressure. Third, the guru persona. They position themselves as having secret knowledge. They're the insiders who get the crypto world. This creates a power dynamic where you, the follower, feel confused and uncertain, so you defer to the expert. Their confidence is mistaken for competence. When they say, "Trust me," you've been conditioned for months or years to do exactly that. This carefully built trust is what makes the whole scam work. It lowers your skepticism and makes you open to even the most ridiculous claims. Step 2. Manufacturing hype. Once trust is established, it's time to manufacture an overwhelming sense of urgency. The main weapon here is FMOO, the fear of missing out. FOMO is that deep-seated anxiety that you might miss out on a great experience others are having. In crypto, this is amplified 1,000 times. Every day, you hear stories about people making life-changing money. Influencers weaponize this by creating artificial scarcity. They'll talk about a limited time opportunity or a small pre-sale. They create the impression that if you don't act now, the chance is gone forever. Highlighting extreme gains. They constantly share stories and screenshots, often from insider wallets, showing incredible profits. This triggers social proof. Our tendency to assume that if lots of people are doing something, it must be the right thing to do. When you see hundreds of people in a Discord chat celebrating their gains, your brain tells you to join them. Using high pressure language, the messaging is always urgent. Don't wait. This is taking off right now. Last chance to get in cheap. This is designed to short circuit your rational brain. They don't want you to have time to do your own research. They want you to act on pure emotion. It's an almost irresistibly powerful combination. A trusted figure telling you that an exclusive, time-sensitive, and community-approved opportunity is right in front of you. It leads people to make impulsive decisions, investing way more than they can afford to lose. Step 3. Executing the technical scam. With the victims primed and the hype at a fever pitch, the final step is the fraud itself. The most common scheme, like with AstroNomad, is the pump and dump. Here's how it works. Accumulation. The scammers secretly buy a massive supply of a new, cheap cryptocurrency before anyone else knows about it. Pump. They use their influence to create a massive hype campaign, creating a buying frenzy. This flood of demand from regular investors artificially inflates the price. Dump. At the peak of the hype, the scammers sell all of their pre-accumulated tokens. They're selling into the demand they created. This causes the price to crash instantly, leaving everyone else with worthless assets. Another common tactic is the undisclosed sponsorship. An influencer promotes a project as if it's their own personal discovery. In reality, they've been paid a huge amount of money or given a ton of tokens to shill it to their audience. This isn't just unethical. In many places, it's illegal. The SEC's case against Kim Kardashian was about exactly this. She was paid to promote a token but failed to properly disclose that payment, which is required by law. Her post just had AD at the bottom, which the SEC said wasn't good enough. These technical scams are the final move in the playbook. They are how trust and hype get converted into cold, hard cash for the influencer and devastating losses for the follower. The AstroNomad story is a template, not a one-off. This pattern repeats itself across the crypto world with sickening regularity, from small-time influencers to some of the biggest names online. Consider the SaveTheKids token, a notorious 2021 scam. A group of popular influencers, mostly from the FaZe Clan esports organization, promoted a new crypto with a noble mission. A portion of each transaction would supposedly go to charity. They used their massive followings to build hype for the token. But behind the scenes, it was a classic pump and dump. The influencers and insiders sold off their holdings shortly after launch, crashing the price and making off with the profits while their young fans were left with nothing. The promised charity donations never happened. Then there's the case of Logan Paul's CryptoZoo. Pitched as a fun blockchain game where you could breed NFT animals to earn crypto, the project raised millions from his huge fan base. He sold it as a fun game that makes you money, But the game was never finished, and the project collapsed, leaving investors with worthless NFTs. While a judge recently dismissed a class action lawsuit against Paul, ruling his promotional statements weren't proven to be fraudulent, the case highlights a huge problem: how hard it is to hold powerful figures accountable in a loosely regulated space. The playbook is also evolving. Scammers are now using artificial intelligence to make their schemes even more convincing. The rise of AI deepfake scams is one of the most alarming trends. Criminals use AI to create hyper-realistic videos of trusted figures like Elon Musk, having them promote fake crypto giveaways. These fakes are getting so good that it's incredibly hard to tell if you're watching a real person or an AI puppet. One estimate showed these deepfake frauds led to over $200 million in losses in just the first quarter of 2025 alone. From organized pump and dump groups on Telegram to celebrity endorsements and AI deepfakes, the goal is always the same: exploit trust for profit. And while regulators are slowly starting to crack down, the anonymous nature of crypto makes it hard to enforce rules and almost impossible to get lost money back. That means the responsibility for protecting yourself falls squarely on you. So, how do you navigate this minefield? How do you keep from becoming someone else's exit liquidity? It's not about avoiding crypto entirely. It's about developing a powerful sense of skepticism and learning to spot the red flags. Think of this as your financial self-defense kit. Red flag 1: promises of guaranteed or insane returns. This is the oldest trick in the book. If an influencer promises a coin is guaranteed to 100x, run. Markets, especially crypto, are unpredictable. There are no guarantees. Promises of huge guaranteed returns are the classic sign of a scam. Red flag 2: intense urgency and pressure. Scammers thrive on impulse. They create a high pressure environment to force you into a quick decision. Watch for phrases like, "you have to get in now," or "this is your last chance." A truly good investment will still be good tomorrow. Any pressure to act immediately is a giant red flag. Red flag 3: a cult of personality. Be wary of projects that are all about one single charismatic influencer. If the main reason to invest is because they said so, you're not investing in a technology. You're betting on a personality. A strong project should stand on its own with a clear purpose, a transparent team, and solid tech. Red flag 4: vague or useless tokens. Ask yourself one simple question: what does this token actually do? If the answer is vague, it's a community token, it's for the memes, be extremely cautious. Many scam coins have no real world use. Their only purpose is to be pumped and then dumped. Read the project's white paper. If it's full of buzzwords but lacks substance, or if the team is anonymous, consider those major warnings. Red flag 5: the hidden ad. Always ask, how is this person making money? If an influencer is aggressively pushing a small, unknown coin, it's very likely they're being paid for it. Look for clear disclosures. A tiny pound sign hashtag ad at the bottom of a post isn't enough. Just assume every promotion is a paid ad and treat it with the same skepticism you would any other commercial. The ultimate principle is simple: don't trust, verify. Don't take an influencer's word for anything. Check their claims yourself. Cross-reference information from multiple reputable sources. Look at critiques of the project, not just the hype. Skepticism is your superpower here. The power dynamic only works if you're uninformed. By understanding their playbook, you take that power back. You learn to see past the charisma, to question the manufactured hype, and to make decisions based on solid research, not on the fear of missing out. The crypto frontier is exciting, but it's also wild. Instead of trusting a charming guide who promises a shortcut, learn to draw your own map.